Thanks very much, and apologies for being a bit late. I forgot to bring my bike lock, which is always a bit of a problem, but luckily Les helped me out. And thanks very much, everyone, for being here. It's really impressive to see so many people here in the middle of the day. I think a real sign of the community opposition to this project. And thanks, of course, to Jenny for organising today. Certainly a lot of issues that need to be aired about WestConnex. We've certainly heard a lot about the ecological impacts already, so rather than kind of rehash some of that content, I'll probably focus on the bigger picture as I see it, and that's the loss of bushland across Sydney. It's a huge, me being an environmentalist and thinking back to when I was young, what was it that made me care about bushland and nature? And it was having access to it in the city where I grew up in Brisbane. And it is really concerning to know that not just through WestConnex, but other projects we see from the Baird government, like the Randwick trees issue, that this is a pattern that we are significantly losing bushland, nature corridors, important wildlife habitat from across the city. And what does that mean for our next generation of people who may not have those experiences of bushland in our city? I think that's hugely concerning, and something that certainly concerns us here at NCC, because we do know that those early experiences of when you're a kid out in the bush are absolutely pivotal for sort of that sense of custodianship that we all should share for the city that we live in. And you can see the figures. I mean, we're talking about 1.5 hectares, 1.8 hectares of 1.4 that's going to be destroyed. I mean, that is a tiny amount of bushland to start with, let alone sacrificing it even more for the sake of a toll road that we all know here today simply won't work. I think I know NCC is certainly really concerned about the amount of money that's going on this project, and no doubt you've heard a lot about that through the rest of the proceedings for today. It's really clear to us where the priorities of the Baird government are. They're on massive infrastructure projects that we know won't solve the problems that they're espoused to do. We certainly see it as a huge, as the wrong priorities that the government is obviously pushing. Massive new toll roads at the same time that we see our public infrastructure, things like public transport, are so desperately underfunded. We're also concerned with the lack of transparency with the project. We know overwhelmingly that the majority of the public submissions into every stage of the WestConnex projects are overwhelmingly opposed to the developments, and yet we continue to see the Baird government simply push it through. I think this is a critical test for our planning system, and I think the results, no doubt you've spoken about this already, but the results are so resoundingly show that we need fundamental reform to the way projects are managed and planning is managed in New South Wales, but specifically here in Sydney, so that we're not continuing to lose, the green lungs of our city. I think, much of what I was going to say has kind of already been covered, so I might just leave it there, other than to say I think this is a real opportunity. The WestConnex projects are a real opportunity for us to unite around what our vision is for Sydney, one that doesn't include bulldozing the really vital pockets of bush and trees that we have left. So thanks very much all for you being here. This absolutely is a campaign that's being run by the community, and I think our politicians know that. The lead up to the federal election clearly is an opportunity to demand the kind of Sydney that we want. So thanks very much for you for being here, and I think it's a really inspiring and pretty exciting campaign, to be honest. So good on you all. Thanks.